Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for this month's devotional Hope Is. Hi, Sister Marilyn. How are you doing? Hi, Sister Pauline. How are you doing? We are back to our regularly scheduled sessions. Um, it's just been fun and crazy and things like that. I hope everyone had a great weekend. They had time to enjoy with friends and family, and everything is going great. So we are going to be jumping into tonight's topic. We are on this devotional for the Christmas Advent season. Hope is, and it's to get us back to understanding what the season is about. We have gotten so caught up with the buying the gifts and to doing all these things, but we're missing out on, key important things and understanding that hope is Jesus. That's who it is and what it's about. Now, tonight's topic is hope is persevering. Hey, Minister Peterson, how are you? So, hope is persevering. And we are going to be reading the scripture's going to be Luke, the second chapter, the first through the ninth verse, first through the seventh verse. And I am going to be reading the New Living Translation version of that on my trusty, dusty iPad. Of course, it helps me to see much bigger. And so it reads as such. At that time, the Roman Emperor Augustus decreed that a census should be taken throughout the Roman Empire. This is the first census taken where Quirinius was governor of Syria. All returned to their own ancestral towns to register for this census. And because Joseph was a descendant of King David, he had to go to Bethlehem in Judea. David's ancient home. He traveled there from the village of Nazareth in Galilee. He took with him Mary, whom he was engaged, who was now expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. She gave birth to her firstborn son. She wrapped him snugly in strips of cloth and laid him in a manger because there was no lodging available to them. And this is where we begin to get into the story of Jesus's birth. And when we think about, hope is persevering, let's understand what the word persevere means. Let us understand that. I'm going to just, understand and read like the definition of, what is hope is persevering. Persevere is an actual, where did it go? Persevere is an actual verb, and it comes as an intransitive verb, and it is a direct, and descendant to persist. And if we think about persisting, when we think about us pushing forward, when we think of persist, it's to go on resolutely in spite of opposition or inopportunity or warning, to be insistent in repetition or pressing, to continue to exist, especially past an unusual, expected, or normal time. And so when we think about persisting, when we think about Joseph, when he decided that he was going to take, Mary on, and she, of course, being, how should I say, impregnated, and it's not by him. Therefore, he was risking it all. He was risking everything, but he trusted God. And he knew that God was going to be able to take care of what he needed to be taken care of. So he was in full agreement, and he put his hope and faith and trust in God that God was going to do exactly what he says he was going to do. Now, when we think about their journey, This is at a point in time where it's not like today's census where we can take the census anywhere that we want to or need to. Back then, you had to go to the home state, hometown of where your ancestral lineage was. And of course, for Joseph, because he was a descendant of David, which, with Mary having Jesus, it fulfilled the scripture that he will be born in the house of David and the descendant to save those. So it falls right in line with what had to happen. But that was a 70-mile hike in today's terms from Galilee to Bethlehem. And it wasn't like this easy walk. Think about it. There was no cars or no whatever. If you couldn't get a donkey or something like that, you walked. You walked wherever you need to go. And this wasn't even, it was like rocky and uneven roads. The journey would have been tough for a young man in peak condition, let alone an expectant mother, and let's think about this. Mary probably likely experienced moments where she just wanted to quit. I don't have any children, but for those mothers out there who is probably you're in your 9th month and you still have to work and you still have to go and whatever. And I know you probably felt like, okay, I'm just done. I'm just going to sit here and chill. And even Joseph, he was probably very concerned. He was like, I know she's in pain. I know she's struggling, but, and I know that we have to do this. Like, he's probably in his mind trying to think of a way to make this less painful or make this less arduous. But of course, there is no other way because it is what has to be done. But see, the difference that Mary has that we sometimes fail to realize is that Mary believed that God would be faithful. So when that road was long and tough and the birth conditions were less than ideal, she was able to hold on to that promise that her child was going to grow into the man who would save the world. See, she held on to the promise that God had given her. And because he had given that promise and because she fully believed it, there was nothing that can be thrown her way that was going to get her off that point, that was going to sidetrack her. And sometimes I think that's what we, mess up with. We get into the point where we understand and listen to the promise of God. We know what God is, saying he's going to do, but we get so caught up in what's going to happen and how difficult it's going to be that we take our eyes off of that ultimate prize. And then we wonder why things don't work out the way we think it's going to work out. When our hope is in God's promises, it determines our actions, our faith grows. Hebrew 11:1 describes faith as a confidence in what we hope for and an assurance about what we do not see. Because when we have that confidence, when we think about it and we're like, okay, Lord, what are we going to do? How is this really, really going to work? Because I've had my doubts sometimes about a lot of things. I wonder sometimes about a lot of things. And my worry never materializes. It never brings good to me. It never does. So when they said it's a confidence, because Hebrews 11:1 says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And that is our standard King James Version. But I'm going to read you the Amplified Bible version so that you can really understand what this verse really says. It says, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for and evidence of things not seen. Now, I'm going to read it again. It says, now faith is the assurance. Now, assurance is a title deed or a confirmation of things hoped for. When of things hoped for is something that is divinely guaranteed. What we hope for is what has been divinely guaranteed by God that he is going to deliver. And evidence of things not seen. The conviction of the reality, faith comprehends as fact that cannot be experienced by the physical senses, meaning that even if you tried, your mind can't wrap around your physical mind can't wrap around the spiritual groundwork that it takes to believe in this. So she had all hope that God was going to do everything that he said he was going to do. And not once did she waver on that belief. Not once did she back up on that belief. Not once did she say, you know what? I'm done with this right now. I'm good. Not once did she do that. See, by putting confidence in what they hoped for, they felt, not how they felt, not what they could see. Mary and Joseph persevered. And I say, and it says Mary and Joseph because at the end of the day, that was his wife. That was someone he cared for. That was someone he was looking at struggling and be in pain. And he didn't want that for her. And, she knew that this had to happen because he had to obey the law. So she knew that we have to make this journey. So together, their belief together collectively, they said, you know what? God has already told us what's going to happen. We can't see how it's going to happen. We can't even think in our minds how it's going to happen. But God said it, and we're going to keep moving forward with it. And that is where we get caught up. That is where we always get caught up because we can't see it. We can't touch it. We can't smell it. We can't materialize it in our mind. We go off kilter and we go off task. And when we do so, we genuinely miss out on what God has for us. At times we feel the uncertainty of the uneven and rocky roads, and we may even feel like we're on this journey that seems impossible. But see, what you have to understand that hope is what allows us to persevere through the fear and through the pain. And hope is more powerful than any uphill journey that we face. Hope is the most important thing, because I know for myself, me being hopeful that there will be a point in my life where I would get my mental health in check, that I would be able to talk about the things of the past and not completely break down, that I would be able to be a light to help others who have gone through what I may have gone through and still make it out. That was a hope. And no, I didn't see how it was going to happen. No, I didn't understand how it was going to, materialize. But I knew that God promised me these things. God promised me certain things. And so therefore I didn't understand how it was going to work out. I didn't understand what was going to happen, but I had to be okay with, you know what? However you're going to move it, I'm going to move. That is what I'm going to do. However, God, you're moving, I'm okay with it. Let us go. Because when you put your hope and your trust in him, nothing is impossible. Absolutely nothing is impossible. And his word cannot and will not return void. And I know somebody may be listening right now or watching right now and they be like, well, I did this and this didn't manifest. It only didn't manifest because you made a decision not to follow. There has been plenty, and see, there has been plenty of things that I say that I didn't see manifest. And it wasn't that they didn't manifest, it was that they were delayed. Because it was something that was a promise that God had made to me. It was something that God needed only me to do. And so therefore, because I couldn't see it, it doesn't mean that it wasn't still there waiting for me to manifest. Did it take longer? Yes, because this wasn't right. When it says the renewing of your mind, it is a mind renewal. It's not a mind game. It's a mind renewal. You have to control this. You have to make sure that this is in line with what God wants. This and this. Your mind, your heart, and your mind. If it's not, you're always going to falter off and it's always going to be trying to go for the next best thing. I know I used to chase the next best thing all the time. I'm good for it. That's a whole nother song. I'm not going to go there. But what I want us to reflect upon is I want us to think about something. I want us to think about, are you up against difficulties financially, relationally, or spiritually? I want you to think about those difficulties that you may be having currently in your life right now that is, putting a damper on what is going on in your life. I want you to really, in your journal, most people who follow us know that a journal is important. You need your journal. So I want you to take your journal and I want you to put this on the top of the page. And I want you to ask yourself, what difficulties am I up against? Is it financial? Is it relationship? Is it spiritually? Is it one? Is it two? Is it all three? And I want you to, in detail, write those things that you feel like you're going up against. That's creating difficulty and strife and creating, moments where you are losing your faith is wavering or you're not trusting God. I want you to understand what those are, and I want you to write those down. And once you do that, then what I want you to ask yourself, what's one area of your life where you need help to persevere? Now, after you've listed all of those things, I want you to really think about the area of the life where you need help to persevere. Now, I'm going to give a suggestion on that. If there's any place in your life where you're struggling spiritually, that is where you need to ask God to help you persevere. Because it doesn't matter if you try to get finances in order. It doesn't matter if you try to get relationships in order. If your spiritual self is out of order, if it is not put together, if you're not in the right relationship with God, none of that other stuff is going to work. None of the other stuff is going to come together. No matter how many tricks and hustles and grinds, whatever you come up with, is not going to work. So if you are struggling with some spiritual difficulties, definitely those are the things you need to take before him and ask him to build up your faith and to shore you up and to show you where you can strengthen. Even if you're having financial difficulties or you're having difficulties in your relationship, I guarantee you it is a direct correlation regarding your relationship with the Father. I don't care what no one says. If you are struggling in any of those areas, there is then a direct correlation of God is trying to get your attention. He is trying to move you. He is trying to get you to go someplace, and you keep ignoring what he's trying to do. So therefore, what you've done is you have created a stopgap. And so the blessings and the things that he wants to bestow on you and to pour on you, he can't, because what you have done is you have cut off the supply because you've decided that you know better. And that is not the case. So if anything you're struggling with, I want you to definitely look at your spiritual relationship, because it doesn't matter about anything else. If your relationship with God isn't correct, nothing else is going to work. Nothing else is going to matter. It's not going to matter that you finally made that $1 million. It's not going to finally matter that you married that girl or that guy and they were a multimillionaire and y'all made millions. It doesn't matter if you are not in the right relationship with God. Doesn't matter at all. Finally, I want you to think about what you're facing and how do you feel about the challenges ahead. And I want you to be honest about this, because so many times we say we're facing challenges, but we're not honest about how we really feel about them. And see, the problem is God is an all-knowing, omnipresent God. However, We have to have relationship, and we have to talk to him and tell him the things that's going on, because that is how relationships work. He is not a genie, and he's not just going to come in and magically fix it. I'll tell anybody, I have good old knockdown, drag out conversations with him. And sometimes it's just a cry out of the pain that I'm going through, the things I'm struggling with. Why did you allow this? What's going on with this? Therefore, it is. And I do it on a consistent basis sometimes, because that's the only way for me to just let it all out. And then once I let it out, and once I'm completely honest about how I'm feeling, I can then listen to when he puts a download into me about what the situation is and why I'm at a pattern or what I'm missing. But if you're not honest about how you're feeling, he can't honestly move you to where you need to be, because you're still operating with the blinders on. So this is time to take the blinders off. We are literally, this is December the 9th. We are literally 23 days away from a new year, a new decade. And it's time to just take the blinders off of how we're feeling. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to start coddling our feelings. It's time to be really real about it, because we serve a real and true living God. He doesn't operate in unknowns. He doesn't operate in, the drama and the, big thing to do that goes with it. So if you can't be real with him, how is he to be real with you? So I want you to think about what you're facing and how you feel about the challenges ahead. And then once you write that out, spend your time with God, talking to him about it, allowing him to download into you and to pour into you so that you can be the best that you can be. That's all it is. If you allow God to do what he can only do, you will have an amazing life. Again, you're going to have to work. It's not going to just happen overnight. Now, in some instances, that may be his will. But a lot of the times we have to put in the work. We have to show him that we are going to be good stewards of what he has given us. How can he give you $1 million and you can't handle $100? How can he give you a house and you can't maintain an apartment? How is it you keep saying, Lord, I need a car so I can get back and forth, but you can't even get to, where you're going to or work on time with the bus? We have to become better stewards of what God has already given us. And we have to be open and honest and have a pure, open and honest relationship with him so that he can navigate and guide us to where we need to be. No more, no less. So understand that hope is persevering. Hope is persevering. And he wants us to persevere through everything that we have done and everything that we are going through. And as long as you understand that, you are going to have a great and amazing time. So I want to thank you for joining us this evening for Hope is Persevering. This is a part of our Hope is devotional for the month of December. If you are on Facebook and you are not a part of the group, you can find us at YB Daily Devotionals. That's Y as in yellow, V as in Victor, Daily Devotionals. All of the videos, bonus content, assignments, everything is there. So come on and join the devotional family. Also, myself and Minister Peterson are praying for you on a consistent and daily basis. So, but you may have a prayer request or praise report. There may be something specific that you need prayer for. And there's a couple of ways you can get us those prayer requests. What you can do is you can you can, and it's been scrolling across the screen, you can either message us in the comments, message myself or Minister Peterson, or you can actually use the link that is on your screen, bit.ly/MPY prayer request. We want to know what the things and what you are asking God for so that we can pray specifically with you and for you. And we also want to know what your praise reports are. We want to know what God has done in your life because we want to celebrate that as well. So enter those in also. Now, I want you to join us back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. as we discuss the topic, Hope is Contagious. That's right. Hope is contagious. And if you know about anything that's contagious, it gets on, it affects whomever that is around and near within a mile radius, whatever it is. So therefore, just like bad behavior is contagious, just like a bad attitude is contagious, hope is contagious. So we have to be consistent about spreading hope. So thank you so much for joining us this evening. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Know that we love you so very much. Myself and Minister Peterson, thank you each and every one for allowing us to come into your homes each and every evening to deliver the word of